All right, I gotta get my brain out of the naming thing. I'm still kind of like.
All right. So what did you do this week?
What did I do this week in general? Well, went to the farmer's market, bought a whole other batch of peppers and stuff, and a lot of serranos. Chopped those up, add a little brine to the jars, and some airlocks on it. I'm doing a fermentation on those. So another month or so, I'll have some good hot sauce.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I mean, I just did a lot of cooking this weekend. Personal cooking, not work cooking. So,
was this week Labor Day or was that last week?
This was not. That was last weekend.
That was last weekend.
The Labor Day. This weekend was, I guess, 9/11 Eve, if you want to call it that.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Which I definitely forgot about.
Yeah, I only knew that because I had to go to a meeting on that day of my homeowners association, which I didn't attend.
I spent most of yesterday slightly hungover from the weekend and playing WWE 2K23, and didn't realize until I saw a news article as I was falling asleep that it was 9/11. I guess 30 minutes ago, because at that point it was like 12:30 at night. And I went, shit, I broke my promise of never forgetting. Coming in hot.
Funny?
No, it's more just honest.
Okay.
Is it too soon to try to do a 9/11 joke? Because I have some bad ones.
I don't know where we were at with that.
I have some really distasteful ones. Fast. I feel like I lived in New Jersey during that time. I can probably make the jokes, but
I don't know. A lot of people lived in New Jersey.
Yeah. That's like saying that my family claimed to be Italian for a long time until we found out we were Irish, so I can do an offensive Italian accent. It's like not really accurate and misses the point.
This is a bad direction to go in.
Yep.
Way to kill the mood. I just asked if it was Labor Day. You had to bring up 9/11, bring that into this. Good Lord. What a bummer.
That's what I'm here for. Just keeping us into reality. So I'm really excited on how that pepper jar is going to turn out. I guess is what the big takeaway of that was. And pizzas came out good this weekend. I made some good pizzas in a brick oven and bought some mushrooms and put that on one of them with some Gruyere. And yeah, it was very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do this last weekend?
I bought a vacuum cleaner.
Okay. Dope.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man.
Outfitting my new apartment. Getting paint and all that jazz.
Are you a beige neutral paint scheme kind of person?
No.
Or
here, I can even show you the color.
Do you have a personality? Oh.
What would you describe that color as?
Well, I would describe it as like a light green, maybe even like a little bit of taupe in there.
Mm-hmm. It calls itself aloe vera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I like it. I like it.
Thank you.
Okay. You do accent walls, or you don't fuck with those?
I have no opinion either way about that, but it's the dining room and the kitchen. I don't really want to have an accent wall in the dining room. So
yeah, fair.
There's only 2 walls anyway. Well, 3 walls, because like cabinets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But then my living room wallpaper is very, very dirty. So I'm going to try and wash it. And then if it doesn't clean up well, I might have to repaint that as well.
Yeah.
So, exciting stuff. Buying paint's expensive, man.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
Wild. I also have to replace like all of the interior door handles in the apartment.
Ooh.
Because they were broken, essentially. I think they were broken basically on purpose, because like I mentioned before, the previous occupant was an older person. I think they were modified so as to make it easier to open, and thereby for not latching whatsoever. So
right,
gotta replace those. But there's only like 4 doors I have to do that too, so it's not that big of a deal.
Sometimes,
cheap things.
yeah, sometimes in those handles, there's like a little screw that can be adjusted for where the latch like set point is.
Dude, you have no idea. The world of European door handles.
Oh God, I never even
it's a
thought
whole
of that.
different thing.
Oof.
Yeah, they're like like I took one out and it looks like a staple gun that like has a latch where the staple part would be, and you're just like, how is this? It's got like this thing. It's insane, man. There's no doorknobs. Everything's a handle. Like there's no like round doorknobs. In this country.
That's the front door I'm dealing with right now, and it's really annoying too because if you want to latch it, you actually have to take the handle and turn it up, or the deadbolt will not engage. Like it's a safety feature, I guess.
Oh, that's the other thing I need to do. I need to replace my deadbolt because my apartment did not come with a key to the deadbolt. So,
yeah, you're gonna want to get rid of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned about. I don't know about what area you live in, but deadbolt would not be on my high priority list.
No, I mean, I don't know. Some people who from this area might think that it's necessary, but I don't.
Yeah,
especially. But I mean, I don't necessarily want one that doesn't work either.
Yeah, I've only had one home intruder in my entire life, and it was when I was like early 20s, living in an apartment in Yorktown, and a drunk woman just entered our apartment one time asking for a guy that did not live there and was very confused why we were there. And I guess assumingly like why nothing looked like his apartment. So we just like carefully escorted her out the door and then engaged the deadbolt.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever had anything like that happen to me, but I also notoriously lock every door I walk in, so...
I'm not a big door locker. I do like my bedroom door shut in the evenings. I got into a habit of locking it when I lived in Gloucester, but that's just because there were always like random people coming in and out, and our good friend Marcus would occasionally want to come and like sit on my sofa, which was always startling when I woke up at the night and he was there. Not unwelcome, just surprising, because when I went to sleep, there was no one there.
It was a surprise gargoyle, but a friendly one.
Yes. But, yeah. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I did that was interesting over the weekend? It was just the farmer's market.
I bought a stepladder.
Ooh, all right. Hold on. You're holding out on us. Vacuum and a stepladder? And some paint.
I know.
Or at least price some paint.
No, I bought it.
You committed. All right.
I know.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You a indoor houseplant kind of guy?
I have some indoor houseplants.
Oh.
They are there.
Ooh.
And you can't see them because they're behind that curtain.
Okay.
But there will also be more because I have way too many windows, so I will probably adopt some of my grandmother's.
Nice.
And yeah, it's very exciting.
I am very pro indoor plant. So, yeah.
Yes, well, like everyone in our generation after the fucking pandemic, we are all houseplant people.
Yeah.
The things we never thought we'd be.
Yeah, I not only a houseplant person, but got like really into like the caretaking aspect of the houseplant lifestyle, including just found myself starting to sing to them. Like, I don't know if that's going to do anything for it, but I enjoyed it.
Did you sing to your sourdough starter as well, or?
No, I didn't do it. I never did the sourdough starter. I had family and friends that did it, so I always had sourdough around me that was capable, but it looked like way too much fucking work. Like, houseplant, if really I'm having like a day and I just can't get to it, it's gonna survive another day. It'll be a little stressed if it's like something that, is a little delicate. It'll manage. Sourdough? No, it won't. You'll ruin it.
I know very little about houseplants. I just know to water them sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Most of my plants, I don't get obsessed about, like, the pH of the soil and things like that. But plants I'm planning on harvesting and curing for other reasons,
Do you know how many times you've talked about this on this podcast? Like,
I'm sure
there's no point in waiting till now to be coy about it.
No, now I want to be. Now I want to be very obtuse.
Oh, hey, I had a pretty amazing experience that you'll never have in America.
Oh, shit, what?
So I moved into my new apartment. I didn't have internet. So I'm like, well, I guess I have to call the cable company to get like the internet turned on. I waited in the phone tree for like 5-10 minutes, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, we turned it on for you." And I was like, "I don't have a modem," and they're like, "Okay, we'll send you one." And then I just got a message today that it had arrived at the package pickup place, so I'm gonna go pick that up tomorrow.
Hell yeah!
Yeah,
holy shit! I tried for like good 45 minutes to find my local Xfinity Center's phone number, only to like be hit with the realization that they don't have a phone number. You have to call the like big chain hotline for them, set up an appointment to go in, and that's how you can like communicate and talk with people. That just
yeah, it's people talk about like, oh yeah, you know, Scandinavia, socialized healthcare, blah blah blah, you know, affordable education and all that. That's all great. What's actually amazing? Government oversight of cable companies.
Yeah. Really feels like we need to get more on board with that here, but that's never going to happen. Oh well. Okay, so let's recap here. I went to a farmer's market. I cooked some pizzas. 9/11 happened. You got a stepladder and...
Well, the anniversary of 9/11 happened.
Right, the anniversary. Let's be clear. Everyone knows what I mean. If they're thinking, oh shit, it just happened, I've been hearing about it for decades. Then that's a different issue. And you got some house paint. And your cable's turned on at the new place.
Yep.
Man.
Also got a stepladder. You forgot the stepladder part.
I'm pretty sure I said it. And when you go and edit this back, you're going to feel like a fool, Arvid.
Probably.
Yeah.
Only because I had to edit out my chair squeaks.
I just thought you were letting out little farts.
No. Be less embarrassing, frankly. Everybody farts. Not everyone's so fat they make their chair squeak.
That's actually fair. I get that. I get that. There's a bar in town that I don't like to sit. I like to be at the countertop, but I don't like to sit on the stools because they're very narrow and rounded. And as a fat guy, all that extra weight that I have on like the front of me just constantly makes me consistently slowly slide off of the stool.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like just forcing and fighting it the whole time. And if my feet are a little wet, that like bar rail, like I'm just falling right over. At some point I'm going to eat shit on my chin. Yeah. Struggle's real.
Yeah, I have a similar problem with bicycle seats.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly painful things.
Yep.
That was Fat Guy Corner.
That was Fat Guy. Oh, we will revisit that segment, that's for sure. What game are we talking about this week?
Oh, we should probably do the intro.
We should probably do the intro.
Okay, welcome to the Save State Podcast, a podcast in which we talk about video games that we played. And today we played Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, period.
Yes, nailed it. I chose this one.
Yes, the game that asks, what if Drama Kids made a Telltale game?
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, this has got a lot of messy vibes to it. So I wasn't expecting it to be so Telltale-y because I'm not a huge fan of those games. I thought there were going to be more RPG elements, mechanics to the music. Like I actually thought that the musicals were going to be combat in more of a way. I mean, they are, but in a little more of a substantial way than they are is what I thought was going to be the experience.
Yeah. To quickly tell everyone who doesn't know what a Telltale game is, when we say Telltale game, it is a game that is essentially like the narrative bits of an RPG without any of the other RPG bits. So everything's just dialogue trees and maybe some light environmental investigation. It kind of exists in like the same lineage of an adventure game, but without like puzzles or anything like that. It's simply just dialogue. Frequently, the Telltale games will make a big point of giving you like choices, which you always feel are meaningful, and then after you play through it, you're like, oh, those choices didn't actually matter that much, because you play through it again, the same thing happens. And the Telltale's been getting away with this for so long, because no one ever actually wants to replay a Telltale game. Not that I think they're bad games. I have played a lot of them. I like a lot of them. But I think they get away with their choice illusion a lot because most people aren't interested in finding out what the other choice was. And this is that you get generally like it's you have dialogue trees with singing, which is impressive. Don't get me wrong; it's very impressive. And you get 3 options for most things instead of 2. So you have technically a lot of different dialogue options that you can go through the trees and such.
What was surprising about that, though, real quick, was that in the very beginning, when the first choice tree comes up for those 3 options, they make it really feel like this is your class you're essentially choosing for the game. And it didn't feel that way going forward.
No.
You can either come at things like aggressively or compassionately. You have these different choices to make, and I thought this would unlock abilities, based on your decisions. But it's really just watching a musical play out and making a couple choices.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad.
No,
but it is light on the game aspect of a role playing game, and even not really much of a role playing anything. It's just kind of a story,
a game.
You mentioned the beginning, and I guess I'll start there with some of my. Well, first of all, I'll say this is very impressive, in that it's a musical, so there's a lot of music, like songs in which characters are singing to each other, and like a musical, like character development happens,
exposition, and
exactly. Sometimes characters make decisions during these songs, and it's like a musical. There's a lot more dialogue in between the songs than any musical I've ever seen, but technically it's a musical. And you do have to make decisions during the songs. And that's actually really impressive because they had to write all of this dialogue tree stuff like they normally would, but then they also had to put that to music.
Yeah.
And that sounds insane and difficult, and it's very impressive that they did this as well as it came out.
Yeah, because it's not just the dialogue that's swapping, right? It's this whole score itself. When you choose one path or the other, you're not radically changing the score of the song, but it evokes those themes of like more aggression or self-determination and will. And that's weird.
The instrumentation changes.
The instrumentation of it adjusts itself while still keeping to the theme of that song, the sound of that song.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I will give them that. For all the other issues I did have with the game, I enjoyed that and I respected that whole process because that had to be really hard for the composer.
Oh yeah. I mean, also like the voice actors in this game are like a murderer's row of video game voice actors. It's all done really well. The voice acting and the singing is mostly really good. Some people quite obviously have a bit more, a little better than others, but other than that, it's competent. At worst, it's competent. You know what I mean?
Which I liked because it felt more like you were watching an actual musical, where like, yes, this is a musical or a play, but like not everyone in it can sing, even if they have lines.
And that is like what first problem number 1. The main character has to sing in every song, and the main character has a good voice, nothing wrong with her voice. But not every song, like the problem with that is that every song, no matter what tone that song is going for, has to reach that, like the main character's vocal range. So you can have like a song that's like an argument between like two people with deeper voices, and and then all of a sudden the main character comes in with like you have to do like almost a whole key change to get her voice in there, and it's just grinds the song to a halt. And sometimes that's intentional, but sometimes it just feels rough. And like, I don't know how you would do that better. Like, I don't have any examples of what makes that work better.
Yeah.
But like, there's a reason why, like, I don't know of a single musical where every character, like the main character sings in every song. Usually when another character has a song, they have a song.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, for that very reason, everything would have to be in the same key for it to fit.
Yeah.
And while that's not monotone, it's mono musical.
It's similar.
I don't know. Yeah. Like,
and like the other thing is like I don't know what the recording process was for this, but like they kind of have like what sounds like a pretty stripped down a group of instruments that are playing. I don't know if there was just like a bunch of different people recording individual bits or whatever. I don't think they had like a full orchestra by any means. So like when you have like some of these songs that are like kind of more smoother cabaret things where you got like the jazz quartet, it works really well. And then you'll have like big like screw you, I'm singing in hell about dead, crap songs. And then you have like this anemic violin section and like a guitar out of nowhere that sounds not great. Like, but some of the limitations of it being a indie video game make the musical aspects a bit rough, which, like I said, this is still an amazing thing that they did.
mm-hmm.
And the other thing, another complaint I have before I talk. I mean, I should reiterate, I did really like this game.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, like one of the problems I have is that it starts off bad. Like a musical, musicals are weird, right? Like we don't. They're not something we necessarily engage with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't live in the age of musicals anymore. But one thing that almost every musical I've ever seen does is that it starts big. The first song gets you into the mood of the musical, gets you into the setting, gets you into like the feel of being in a musical, And the first song we get in this is the main character who's in a rock band. She's in this auditorium where her and her bandmates are beginning auditions for new people, and they haven't had a good time. So there's all this like cacophonic noise, and then her bandmates leave, and she sings by herself in this kind of like "Woe is me" song in the auditorium. And while it makes sense for the narrative, and I don't want to talk too much about the narrative because I feel like that's like a big part of this, and like you could like. Unlike spoilers would kind of make the game like hard to play.
Yeah.
It just doesn't start that way. So it starts with this kind of and like this happens a couple times too, where the main character will sing a song, and she has like this kind of soft voice by itself, no instrumentation, and they kind of slowly build the instruments, and like it's just so weak because like this is a video game about gods being real, and like so many of these songs like sound so like mewling and empty,
and they should be bombastic.
Well, and the other thing is like, okay, that makes sense if it's the character's inner monologue, right? Like even though she's like this punk rock and roll leather jacket having girl, she can have like these thoughts in her head that like, maybe I'm inadequate, maybe I don't know what I'm doing, all that stuff. But that's not the reality of the setting. The reality is everyone's actually singing, like these are actually things that people are singing, especially early on when like that isn't even like the magic aspect hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
It was just a bad start. I ended up really liking the game, but that was a weird decision to make.
The pacing of the first act is really off kilter, and it threw me. I actually took a break after that and didn't go back to it for a few days because I was not feeling it during the first act. It was the second act that like got me back into it. The story like was enough at that point that I was invested, right? The story beats of this are really interesting the whole way through. It's weirdly enough the entire plot mechanic of the musical aspect that kind of throws the story beats off balance, and that was frustrating. It's like the main mechanic of the game got in the game's way, which Why? Like, then that shouldn't be your primary mechanic, or means that your mechanic should have been adjusted. And I don't know how they would have done that exactly without gamifying it more, and they clearly weren't going for that kind of game, which is fine.
Well, it would have been really hard to.
Yeah.
Like, that would have made
stats were involved.
Yeah, to like be very vague about the story. I don't want to gods are real. You are introduced to this world of gods, your main character, and you're accused of a crime, and you have to prove that you didn't do this crime. And so, like, ostensibly, it's a murder mystery. Mm-hmm. Unlike Paradise Killer, which is also
I thought about that too.
Which is also a game with a lot of very good character designs about immortal beings who are accusing each other of a crime, and they know you, but you don't quite know them. Mm-hmm. But you still have to use your detective skills to solve a murder. Unlike that, there isn't actually any like deductive anything. Like, there's no finding clues. There's no trying to piece together people's stories. It's just a straight narrative. The actual detective part is not meaningless, but it's like watching a show. Like, there's no like you trying to puzzle anything out.
Yeah, you're on kind of these invisible rail tracks the entire game. All the choices you make, like you were talking about earlier with the Telltale game, there's this illusion of choice that really matters, and it does. There's decisions you can make in this that will change the beats of the story and what characters are present for what songs and how that plays.
Well, that's true.
But at the end of the day, you kind of get to the same place with this almost, Animal House ending more, is what it felt like. And here's what happened because of the choices you made.
Yeah. We've had this discussion before where I view that as the Fallout ending, but that too.
Yeah.
Animal House.
Yeah.
Little less. You get more. You get more information than just like the fade over text. That's really where most of the decisions seem to end up, is like the epilogue kind of where are they now bits. It doesn't. I don't know that. I mean, obviously, I didn't replay this because, Also, there was that's one of the decisions I made entirely by accident, because this game does that thing that like BioWare games do, you're used to do, where like there's like a bit of text that says like it's misleading, and you think they mean like they're trying to be sarcastic, but they're being earnest, or vice versa, or something entirely different. So there was something I said where I thought it was just like kind of a blasé kind of off the cuff remark, like not going to be taken seriously, but that resulted in a character probably not surviving till the end of the story. And I was like, wait, what?
Sure.
Like I did. It's not what I meant to say, but that's like what the dialogue choice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the little blurb description of this script was. It's something has frustrated me since Mass Effect.
So kind of the opposite of what they tried to correct in Fallout 4 with the modding community, where people didn't like how it was just like compassion, sarcasm, aggression as like your choices of dialogue options. And they were like, well, show me everything he's going to say that character is going to say, the MC, because I want to know, like, what am I actually saying in this moment? And it kind of got flipped around in that same way of like, you get to see it, but that's not I don't know.
No, I mean, I think it's more pre that, because it's very much like the older BioWare games where they just give you like they don't give you what the character is going to say. They just give you kind of like that. This is a brief part of what they would say, or like the first few words that they would say.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like it gives you, like, every time you make a decision outside of the dialogue, it gives you a confirm button. So every time you move anywhere on the map, you have to go down to the confirm after you say yes. Anytime you choose to look at something, in the rare occasions where you can look at around the room, you have to go down to the confirm button afterwards. But there's no confirm button for these important dialogue decisions, which I guess would slow the game down a lot. But why have the confirm button to begin with? Like, I mean, I don't know. But things I liked about the game, I should probably stop being so negative. As I said, the character designs are great. The art style is really great. I liked it a lot. Remind me a lot of like Joel Jones. It's like a very comic booky art with very like I would say, confident ink work. Maybe a dash of Jaime Hernandez in there, certainly with some of the character designs.
Yeah, there's a lot of Hyman Hernandez. What was that?
Okay.
I'm sorry, everyone. I was half joking and half sincere. I am not well learned on these matters.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly like a kind of like modernized Love and Rockets, like Love and Rockets as viewed through the Tumblrverse version, like as far as the art is done. The other thing about this game I noticed is that they don't really feel like gods, the Greek gods. Like, and I was thinking about this as I played. They kind of just like the whole thing has this like immortal beings hanging around in like dank apartments and just kind of being sad all the time. And all the gods are sad all the time. Like, doesn't matter what they're a god of; they're just kind of mopey and sad, which is
it's tragedies.
Fine.
It's supposed to be.
But do you know who is like does this? This is a vampire story. Like, this is actually a vampire story. It's not anything to do with Greek mythology.
You're like, right. They were playing like Vampire the Masquerade the entire time. Yeah, they were making. Yeah,
this is like some like Interview with the Vampire Anne Rice fan fiction stuff that they just painted Greek gods over. Not that that's a complaint. Like, but
that's a very specific type of people too. Generally, people. Not saying that you're not great people. Generally, not the kind of people I want to spend my evening with.
Oh, I don't know. I've read some Interview with the Vampire fan fiction in my life.
Oh, I meant specifically the people who play vampire.
I used to play vampire a lot. I still have the book.
Well, now I have to reevaluate this entire relationship we have.
No, I mean, I'm not like it's not a complaint, but it does kind of like I kept expecting some of the characters act like what I would expect that Greek god to act, but most of them just kind of have this kind of like trauma survivor sad vibe to them, which is fair.
And I wonder if that was intentional due to the plot, like how gods mechanically work in this world without, again, giving away a lot on the game. But very early on, that's kind of established as how gods exist in general. And that made me wonder, like, how original were all of these gods? Right?
Mm. Yeah, no, I mean, but at the same time, like, you've lived for 4,000 years. Sure. Couldn't you have gone to a therapist at some point?
Yeah.
Like everyone's just kind of sad and falling apart, and they're just waiting for the hero girl to show up and be like, "Be less sad." And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. I could be less sad."
I mean, speaking from my own experience, I've been meaning to go to therapy for a good 15 years and haven't gotten around to it yet. One day I'll treat myself.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I mean, like, once I started viewing it, like, in this much more, like, I don't want to say gothic, but, like, yeah, kind of, like, gothic, romantic, like, version of a story, I kind of clicked with it a lot better. Mm-hmm. Like, once I started thinking these guys as just, like, sad vampire types, and you're, like, the new vampire who's, like, the world's not that bad, let's be fun vampires for once, and you kind of, like, it kind of starts making a bit more sense than just, like, let's help Apollo with his trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, not something I'm complaining about.
No, there was a lot of enjoyment in this. I had fun. I mean, like we talked about, the scores are really enjoyable to watch and listen to. The art really nails it on everything. I was actually concerned at first when I first started playing this because of the still art imagery, and I thought it was going to be a lot more animated than it was.
Mm-hmm.
But that grew on me, and I really started to enjoy that early on. I mean, within the first hour or so of playing, I was over that and really enjoying the scenery and the artwork in each image. But as much as I enjoyed it, that first act really, like, left a sour taste in my mouth. Like, if I learned that there were drastic differences to the ending, depending on how your choices went, I don't think I'd play back through because of the grind of that first act, the slog of it.
Yeah, and like I felt like it was fine, but I also don't feel like this game needed the choices. Like, I mean, I think that it's impressive what they did. Like, to do like this kind of musical where you have choices and you have to write around these choices is very impressive. Like, but at the same time, like, I kind of would have just probably enjoyed this as much if I didn't have any choices. If I just knew this was like instead of the like the role playing musical, quote unquote, but if it's just like the visual novel musical, I don't know that I would have had. It's like a lot of work for like something that just didn't work that much for me, because I've never viewed the Telltale games as very choice driven, and even though they claim to be, and I know that must have been like a huge part of like making this game work. So like I want to see more musical games. Like, I hope this isn't just a one-off novelty. Then we're like, hey, like in a few years we're just like, hey, remember that one musical Telltale game they made? This is not made by Telltale, I should reiterate. This is a independent studio. But yeah, I also, like, I don't know that there's any musical games that exist. Like, they don't know like what the market is for this. It's a pretty new idea.
Yeah. I want them to keep playing around with this idea of the changing tracks based on choice and decision. I could see that going in a lot of different ways too. I mean, just off the cuff, like, if you did want to go into more of like a Hades or a Bastion style game, the types of weapons you choose, the skill trees like that you go down, could all, like, during attack sequences change the score set behind it, right? Like, every attack of a button is a beat on an instrument almost of some. I could see them playing around with more things that way. But you're right. I'd rather just be a visual novel if they want to get the role playing out of it. Because for role playing, I expect first and foremost character choice to matter, and like character growth to be a really defining part of it. And the growth part they nailed. I just don't feel like the choice part was as broad as it, or as defined as it should have been.
Yeah, like, I'm sure there's a way to introduce choice, like, meaningful choices in a game to a musical. I'm sure also that it would take a ton of work.
Yeah. And
this just wasn't that, because they had to compromise on both. They had to compromise so much on the role-playing aspect to the point that you have kind of meaningless choices. And they also had to compromise on the music, so everything had to be written for all this dialogue, and to have all these characters, and to have all these, like, these potential key changes, that all the songs even start to kind of sound the same. Like, there's a couple that I remember, but most of these songs I kind of don't. And I played 5 hours of it today. Like, some of these, like, they just kind of work because that's what you do. Like, you can find like some simple instrumentation stuff that moves into different places, but like literally the only song I can remember is the song with Orpheus, and that was the best song of the thing, I think, frankly. And that's because they were getting goofy with it, like they were kind of screwing around with that. But a lot of these characters I really liked. Like, I think the actual, like, character, like, the dialogue can be a little earnest for me sometimes. It kind of reminded me of like I said, that drama kid vibe of just like, or like your favorite TV show has a musical episode, like kind of that. I mean, that definitely is the vibe of this entire thing. It's just like, you already know these characters, now they're gonna sing it. Yeah, it's the Scrubs musical of video games. Yeah, I think I actually read before we did this. This is not research. This was months ago before this came out. Okay, I'll allow it. The main studio guy who worked on this, David Gator, I think, the guy who worked at BioWare before this. Surprise, surprise. He said that he was most like heavily inspired by the musical episode of Buffy, which also makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that really does. All of this. Oh God, yeah. Like, everyone is just sad and sexy and kind of like an evil demon, like it,
Yeah.
But like I'd play a sequel. What do they do? Like do another one. Do like the whole do the Assassin's Creed Age of Mythology trifecta. We'll do a Grown with the Greek gods and the Norse gods. I'd play that.
Yeah, go it back into the past and like I guess like spoiler for this one, but like go cover the death of Zeus, right? Within this like
Well, I don't think that's even necessarily something that is confirmed in this game.
I came away from it feeling very much convinced that like Zeus was dead at this point. But that was maybe just my own interpretation of it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I would say that that's certainly a fact that's up to interpretation. But
well, give us the answer, you cowards. Next game, tell us what happened to Zeus.
Yeah, and the next game, like, don't bother with the dialogue choices. Make that stuff happen outside of the music.
Yes,
and I'd be okay with that.
That would have been really interesting if instead you had kind of like this tri-alignment meter between the personalities, the way you can approach everything, and based on how you've been recently leaning is the way the musical score or the way the music would go for that.
Yeah, like
scene.
Or because they go so hard and so big with all the musical numbers, just like kind of like give us the dialogue and then like punctuate it with the musical number at the end. But don't make it feel like it's part of the choice mechanic. Just give us like the musical number. I mean, honestly, if you just gave me Baldur's Gate 3, but every boss ends with a big musical number, that'd be great.
All right, that actually sounds pretty great. Someone can get on that mod right now for BG3.
Yeah, like I just want I don't necessarily want choice in my musicals. I do want musicals in my video games.
Yeah.
Like that sounds awesome.
Yep. I'm sorry. Now I'm just thinking about like why, if I am playing the bard, as every combat encounter not just turning into a big musical number, because it should. It feels like it should, but that's all right. Anyways,
yeah.
I don't know how much. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No.
No, I was literally going to say I don't know how much more I can really say on this game because I think they did everything they wanted to accomplish, but I don't think they had the goal of like, we're going to nail this in one. Like they learned a lot from this and I want them to keep trying because this was cool. This was new.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I said that they could have, like the one thing they probably could have done with this that they didn't necessarily do was give us more of like detectiving in between all the conversations. Like make it feel like you're discovering things or like I could find an item that could make me ask a question, even in the dialogue parts. Like, give me some more like sleuthing around, as opposed to like it really feels like you're pulled along everywhere, not just by like the story, but also because like there's like almost always there's someone with you, and it kind of seems like this like I don't want to say plot contrivance or whatever, but just like, oh, why would I go here? Because my friend says to. And it's just, you always have that person. There's always a person with you telling you where you need to go next. So, like if I just had some bits where, like, there were some parts where you got to, like, look around a room and kind of investigate objects, but you just got, like, a bit of dialogue about it. I think in one case, it may have affected the story, maybe.
Yeah.
But
that is a cool idea, though. I mean, I'm already now feeling like they missed an opportunity there because how neat would it have been? I know this would have put so much more work on the composer, but if little bits of clues, because again, you're trying to prove that you didn't do a murder. So finding all these little clues, these secrets that people have been keeping about their own interpersonal relationships with each other, if you had been able to have those be the options that you choose to present during the musical numbers, that would have been really cool. Like if that had changed how you tackle this murder mystery, because I guess
that would have been way difficult.
Yes, it would have been insanely difficult, and they could have simplified it in some way. Maybe it's just like this option only appears if you have, if you found that one thing, and otherwise it's just your standard ones, right? But something like that would have been neat.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, not all the dialogue in this game happens during the musical numbers. A lot of it happens outside of the musical numbers.
Yeah.
You could have just, like, had us use the evidence to ask more questions.
Yeah, but
outside of the musical numbers.
Musicals were a mechanic for gaining evidence often, too. Like, gaining exposition, in the
the musical numbers
evidence.
were the bits of L.A. Noire where you have, like, the
facial twitches and
the facial things, like that was this part, like the end,
because that's your
interview kind
power,
of
right? As a character, is like bringing the music out of people, and that's their true, like their heart's song, I guess, is the way to describe it.
Also, these gods didn't use their powers very often, I have to say. Like, they all kind of point out that they all have specific powers that kind of align with like their god's background or whatever. But as far as I could tell, their only like actual power was being like sexy. Like, that was like everyone, like,
except for Hermes. Hermes was like actually doing what Hermes should do.
No, that's true. Hermes is the only one who actually makes sense as their character. That's a good point. Also, as much as the art was very good, you could kind of tell that the artist is someone who draws humans a lot and is very good at drawing humans. You know, the fashion, the outfits are great facial expressions. When they are asked to draw a minotaur, maybe they could have gone another pass on that character design. I think he little goofy looking.
I thought the goofiness of that actually made the character all the more endearing. Like, because they're supposed to be kind of bumbling, right? And like sheepish.
No, it's true.
Bashful.
But like it seemed almost out of style of everything else. Like, it seemed like
that whole
he was
sequence seemed out of style for the rest of it.
Well, yeah. I also like my second favorite sequence of the game. I think maybe first. I don't know. Like, there's that bit, and then there's the bit with Orpheus. Like, those were both very good. But like, yeah, that's just nitpicking stuff. Like, I think this is a really good game. It's a game you should play if you like musicals. If you like a Telltale game and you think that like a one of those with music is good, then you should probably play it. The other thing is, like, I don't know if this is a game that I would necessarily recommend to someone who doesn't like musicals, because I think it doesn't do all those things that I would say, like, hey, I know you don't like musicals, but try this, because like it kind of just does the numbers on a lot of instances. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's a musical, I guess, you know.
Yeah, there's not enough there to pull someone in, though. Like, I could see someone who, like myself, is generally not a fan of a big, like, Telltale style or a visual novel game, like a Danganronpa or something, being like, yeah, but this one's Batman. Like, you can get into this because it's a Batman story. Like, you'll like it. It's like, okay, I'll check that out. This, like, you have to like musicals for it to, and I do, which is, good then.
Well, I mean, it is that. It's just, instead of replace Batman with Rent, and that's basically what you got,
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like Telltale games, but I do like Rent, and yeah, this has got Anthony Rapp in there, so, you're good.
Sorry, I was trying to think of a way to convert that song to the number of prisoners in Arkham Asylum or something, but all right.
No, you could probably do, like, I don't know, Les Mis in Arkham, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
No, like, basically, I'm of the opinion that a musical should be good enough to listen to on its own, and maybe you don't get the whole story, but you'll definitely feel like you came out of it and something was told to you and you had a good time.
Yep.
And going back listening to most of these songs, I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a musical song, all right, but like, it's not my thing.
Yeah. Whereas, like, everything aside, I pulled up on Spotify like a few months ago, Dr. Horrible sing-along blog, and just listened back through that again and was having fun, like singing all the way through Bad Horse.
That's the other thing, is I didn't realize that Felicia Day was in this either until I had the credits. I was like, oh yeah, great, because she doesn't sound like, she normally sounds always like her.
Yeah.
And she actually does something with her voice to not sound like herself, which is fine. She does a very good job in this as well. Like I said, all the voice acting is very good, even if the dialogue is sometimes a little not the best, but the voice actors just pull it off.
Yeah. No, it's funny. That whole Minotaur song sequence is the only one that I actually went back and listened to. I went on YouTube, though, for it, because I can't imagine just finding an audio of it and listening to it. As much as I enjoyed it, you need to see it. I mean, this really is still a visual musical. I don't know what kind of musical wouldn't be without it just being music, or a rock opera, I guess, but...
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I've certainly listened, like, most of those Andrew Lloyd Webber things from back, like, the classic ones started out as albums, like, people listened to Jesus Christ Superstar, years before the show came out, or the movie, certainly. So, like, I think, like, a musical can stand on its own. I mean, that, like, opera, I mean, how many people listen to opera existed for years.
Yeah.
It's like the first thing that ever sold records was opera. I mean, Caruso was, like, the best-selling artist until like very recently.
I completely agree. My complaint with this is that you're right. They don't stand on their own though as songs. They require the visual component to.
I think.
Yeah.
I think you're right there. But yeah, I still think this was quite good. If only. I hope this doesn't become a novelty. Like I said, I hope this is something we see more of in the future. Even if this was a lot of work, I would love to see more. A Stray Gods 2 maybe, or just more musical people embracing musicals as like like the thing is, like, not to get too abstract here, but like humans have been like the humans have been hearing stories in song form for millennia.
Oh yeah.
This is how like stuff has been communicated forever. Like there's something in our brains that really works with the idea of stories being told to us through song.
Yeah.
And like the fact that video games haven't capitalized on this in their existence is kind of sad. And even now, television and movies don't necessarily do a very good job of it. But like ancient Greece, all of those stories were originally like oral storytelling. Most of them were songs, or at the very least in verse.
Yeah, the Celts and the early Irish did the same thing. A lot of their oral traditions were in musical form, and a lot of like the most important things were repeated 3 times, right? Like there was this very consistent way of getting information across to people, and it was music and 3-time repetition. And they just
and it's also
into
easy to remember that stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Exactly. So like I think it's a disservice that our storytellers don't necessarily work with musicals very often these days. And when they do, it's very much like focused on this one area of like, they're for Broadway things or things that are off Broadway things. So I'd like to see more of that.
If you were going to be a bardic traveling storyteller in the modern era here, what would your instrument of choice be?
Well, the problem is, like, the modern era, traveling isn't really what you do. It's like you communicate through the internet.
That's true.
So, like,
you're right. I'm already aging myself by thinking you have to go to the meat space.
Yeah, so, like, I just mean, like, you have every instrument. Why let yourself be slowed down by just having to play a lyre or something like that?
Sure.
You have any instrument you want at your beck and call.
Yep.
I think all YouTube videos should just be musicals from now on.
All Ken Burns documentaries should be musicals.
Hey,
that actually does sound pretty fun.
I mean, just Keith David in like a 3-piece jazz band.
Look, especially if he's going to do the history of musicals, that one has to be a musical itself.
Yeah.
Oh God.
He has to have done that, right? Like Broadway.
Well, no, it would go way back. Like he would show Broadway and then go, but to really understand everything, we need to go further back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man.
The great American art form. I know those other ones were great American art forms, but this is actually the great American art form.
Oh fuck. No, but yes, thank you for seeing that my premise of the traveling bard was a bad improv moment and not yes-anding it, but instead building something even better from that.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I trust me to take things way too seriously.
Always.
Or not seriously enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break real quick. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Sorry, unless you got something to say.
No, because, I mean, yes, but it was so shallow. Like, I hate recommending or not recommending a game based on its price point. But I do want to say for this one, very reasonable. $30 on Steam now. We've been playing some... Yes, it's $29.99 on Steam at the current moment. Unless I completely had a mental lapse.
Oh, no, it is. You're right. Yeah.
So we've been playing some games lately that especially the playtime might not be as long as others. And their price point has not been as reasonable. So I think for what you get from this experience, I would have been fine with it being a little higher. But for this price point, do it. Get this game. Play it. It's well worth $30. That's the ticket to go to see a Broadway show. I mean, most reasonable ones. All right, maybe when I was like 14 living near New York, it was about $30. Because I could get into the city with my friends on a train and go see something for under $100 that night and still have like street pizza money. So,
yeah. Yeah, I think now it's like $30 to get in line to
probably. God, I'm so fucking old.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that we're old. It's just that like Manhattan is expensive.
Yeah,
as fuck.
Yeah,
and also just shows are expensive as fuck. Like,
yeah,
Ticketmaster and all that jazz have just everything. The price to see anything live is astronomical these days.
But yeah, let's take a little quick breaky here.
Yeah. All right, Mike. You ready for a quiz?
Sure.
All right. So, in honor of us playing a game that's a musical based on Greek mythology, loosely.
Thank God, I thought you were going to say in honor of 9/11. All right.
I'm going to give you some popular musicals that you almost have certainly heard of.
Uh-huh.
And you can tell me what they're based off of.
Oh,
I only have a few because I just
All
came
right.
up with this while we were on the break now. So, kind of a basic quiz, but pretty simple, I think. All right. Les Mis. What's Les Miserables based on?
Some French asshole that wanted baguettes to be cheaper.
It's based off the novel Les Miserables by Victor Hugo.
Ah.
All right, so that's one. All right, second one, The Phantom of the Opera. What's that based
It's
off of?
actually a retelling of the graphic novel The Phantom, but set in an opera.
No, it is a based on the novel The Phantom of the Opera by another French novelist whose name I can't remember at this moment.
Who also wanted baguettes to be cheaper. Yes, I see the theme now.
What was his name? It's going to drive me nuts.
I have no idea. Look, I might like a band. I can't tell you anyone who's in it.
It's like Devereaux. No, what's his name?
Devo.
Doesn't matter.
It was written by Devo.
Yes. I could look it up, but I shan't. All right. So what is West Side Story based off of?
West Side Story is about... I was going to say Pony Boy. That's the fucking Outsiders. You know, it's a Romeo-Juliet thing. It's the rival... you got your Sharks, you got your Jets, and they're feuding.
Yeah.
Because of racial divisions and other complicated matters about, like, equality in the economy that I'm not really an authority on speaking more about.
Yeah, apparently there's some context, like I didn't know this in the original, that maybe that the Capulets and the Montagues in the original Romeo and Juliet was based off like northern and southern Italian subcultures.
Oh yeah, that's all
true that is.
No, but that would make a lot of sense too if that was like the subtext. Yeah.
If Shakespeare had ever been to like Italy or spent any time there or any of that stuff,
or wrote any of it. Controversial take. That's right.
Not enough. Like all
We're out of
these
conspiracy
theories. Like I can't. You can't just keep doing this to me. Like I need to be anchored somewhat to this world. All right. Rent. What is Rent based off of?
A really depressing story about AIDS.
Well, you're close. It's about a really depressing. It's based on a really depressing story about tuberculosis. La Boheme. The opera. So,
very interesting, actually. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Just a modern
kills
retelling.
more people than AIDS still today. Tuberculosis kills a lot of people.
Really?
Second leading cause of the second deadliest infectious disease after COVID the past few years.
I had to take a tuberculosis test when I was going to be a volunteer aide at a hospital as a teenager. And I got all my shots and stuff too, but they were like, we still have to like test you for this base stuff before we let you, just walk around. And I was terrified that somehow I had TB. I don't know how I would have acquired it, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know how this works. I'm 14, but...
Yeah, no, I had to do that all the time at the hospital, and we did have someone we suspected was had tuberculosis. We'd put them in this special room with like special ventilation that vented out so by its own self and all this kind of crazy stuff. All right, and last, Cats, the musical Cats.
I mean, I just assumed that came out of one of the more pleasant dreams that H.R. Giger had. But, like, the one good dream he had, he was like, let me write that one down and make it a little more whimsical.
It's actually based on a collection of poems by T.S. Eliot called Something Cats. I'll look that up. Doesn't matter. It's based on a book of poems about cats by T.S. Eliot. So there you go. I bet you didn't know all those things were actually based on other things.
I didn't know any of those were.
That's not true. You got one right. You got the Romeo and Juliet one.
Oh, well, yeah, but that doesn't count.
Yeah. That kind of counts. It was a question still.
I know, but the entire time I was talking, really all I was thinking to myself is, I'm so pretty, oh so pretty. And just, man, that's a fucking banger.
See, that's a good musical.
It is.
I mean, not that I should compare Stray Gods to West Side Story. That's a bit cruel, but...
No, but it's very good.
Yes. I haven't actually seen the new one. I don't know if it's the Spielberg.
I didn't know he did one. I should check that out.
It came out. Yeah, one. I think it was nominated for some awards, but no one went and saw it, and he was very angry about it.
Oh, is that when he went on his like Netflix is the devil rant? And this isn't real films.
They've all done that. I think every director over 60 is like, except for like Christopher Nolan, who's also been like,
yeah,
like old guy complaining noise.
Yeah, and then Michael Bay is just is all he's doing because he just wants explosions.
Yeah, I think Michael Bay probably prefers if people see the movies in the theater because like there's something about
the sound quality.
Well, not like that, but like you just kind of get pummeled by like visuals and noise and sound, and in the movie theater you can be like walk out in a daze, just like like getting off like.
He wants you to experience shell shock as you leave the theater.
And you're just like, I guess I like that. Yeah. Should you could see it? That wouldn't. I don't know. And that doesn't work so well at home. When everyone gets home and watches it on Netflix, like, oh my god, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But he did. I like The Rock. That was a fun movie.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage.
It was. Very much so. Oh God. I just remember that like chemical, the weaponized chemical they had just looked like the marbles, like the big like bust up marbles I had. Yeah. I had tons of those. Yeah. I used to run around and play around like I had this biological warfare agent in my pocket all the time.
Yeah, it always remind me of the I don't know which came first, but like the Skaven in Warhammer always have like these plagues that they throw around in like green orbs. I don't know who stole what from whom.
Nice.
But
my best
green orbs is plagues.
Memory of the movie The Rock was a field trip from the school that we went to
the chemical warfare
DC.
plant?
No, to DC. And on my bus, the movie they brought was The Rock.
Oh God,
It was so enjoyable.
I think we also had a Nicolas Cage movie. I don't remember. It was something.
Was it just National Treasure then? Because that would be a real bummer.
I'm not that young. Good Lord.
No, wait, what do you mean? When did the first National Treasure definitely came out while we were in high school.
Yeah, but I didn't go to DC. The DC trip was like 5th grade.
No. I wasn't here at that point. I was like a junior. That was a high school trip.
You weren't there either. I mean, you weren't.
That's true. Okay, I concede that point. I was not there either.
No, I just mean like I didn't. Only time I went to DC was in the 5th grade. I don't know about any other time. So yeah, I think I want to say it was probably like Con Air, but Con Air is also a little much for kids. So
fuck, that's pretty intense for 5th graders. I mean, it's a good movie. If you're in 5th grade, go rent Con Air and watch it. Rent. Jesus Christ. Go stream it.
Yeah, go to the video store. Pay $3. Take home the plastic, like fucking VHS, and put it into a machine you'd have.
We have a family video next to us. Like a couple years ago, it looked like they were closing down, and I was like, oh, that sucks. But like, finally, the last one's gone. And no, they were just moving to a bigger place and were hiring more people. I'm pretty sure they're mobbed up. Like, I don't know how they're still going. Like, they're still doing like kids-free movie nights and stuff. I don't know how they're capable, like how they can sustain themselves this way. Makes no sense.
Yeah. Now, the last, like, never mind. It's not a fun story. It's just one of those stories of like, wait, this is depressing, isn't it? Never mind. Let's not tell that story.
No. Let me bring the like bummer conversations around.
Yeah, well, you know how to deal with it. I just get overwhelmed.
Well, by deal with it, you mean I just like emotionally shut down? Then yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just stay in a constant state of apathy. Then yeah. Oh, that therapist I go to one day will have so much fun. I'm going to buy him a new boat.
I don't know. I've never met like a well-paid therapist.
No, all the good ones are very poor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it does seem like you spend a lot of money at the therapist, but then again, you never like, you never see him at like the Porsche dealerships. Not that I like know that's a bad example, but
or that you spend your time at the Porsche dealership either. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how do you know they're not?
Maybe
there?
It's full of therapists. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Fucking blowing the lid wide open on that.
All right. So, do we have any news this week?
No.
No news.
No news. No, had a pretty busy weekend, have not seen the news. I will be scouring the internet over this next week for next episode, but no new news this week.
I have two, I have two things that are not necessarily news, but just facts that will make you feel old.
All right.
This week, the Badger meme turned 20.
Oh.
And slightly more upsetting, Steam turned 20. So,
yeah. That's actually... I was vaguely aware of that because I didn't get on there right away, but pretty soon after. And so that number gets bigger every year, and I just feel that much older.
Yeah, so if you remember that being youth, just remember that it's even further away than it used to be.
I think it literally would have just been for playing the multiplayer like arena for Half-Life at that point too, right? Or would it have been Half-Life 2? Was that when Steam first...
2.
Yeah, when that first got implemented.
It was the orange box.
Mm-hmm.
So Half-Life 2, Portal, and Counter-Strike?
Yeah, I had to buy a new graphics card for it. That was the first time I'd even opened my computer up, was for Half-Life 2.
Yeah, I was always like having to do like leftover crap that like my, someone in my family had. So I had a Windows ME computer.
Oh shit! You should have killed that immediately.
Windows
it's
Me.
cursed.
I don't know, honestly. I had a lot. I think I had a Windows Me computer for like almost 4 years, and I did a lot of playing games on it.
All
did
right.
it was mostly like Civ 2 or 3, but I didn't actually. It was Oblivion that made me have to get a new computer.
Yeah.
That was not something I was going to play on my old computer.
No, I could have seen that. That would have been way better to play on PC, probably. I was still doing it on the 360 at the time. That's how I played.
Yeah, it was
Oblivion.
like very early in the 360's lifespan.
I think it was one of its launch titles.
Yeah, it's very weird to me that Oblivion and Skyrim are both on the 360. Like, that's like...
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, Skyrim shared a console with... Oh, no, I was going to say shared a console with Knights of the Old Republic, but I think that actually was good enough to make it onto the OG Xbox.
Yeah, the first two... I had the Knights of the Old Republic on the first two. On the first Xbox. I played Morrowind on the first Xbox.
Oh,
as well.
So good. I missed that controller with the black and white button. I really enjoyed those.
Yeah. The Duke.
Yes. Yeah. No, like, legitimately, I saw, like, a set of Dukes were, like, up for grabs recently, and I entered to try to get one. Because they're expensive if you look around online.
Very expensive.
But it was the most comfortable controller I've ever played with.
Really?
Yeah.
I think my problem is like the most comfortable controller for me was always the like just the PlayStation 2 DualShock, because like that's what I kind of like grew my hands around learning how to play video games. So
it was too small for me.
I think that the original PlayStation to me was like, I played that one, used that one a lot, but like when it added the dual, like the big sticks, I think they had to bulk it up a bit. I think that worked out.
Yeah.
But that was also before like the Call of Duty changed everything and made all the shoulder buttons like very important because you have to be like guns. So that was like back when R2 and L2 were just buttons and not like triggers. Actually, no. I think does the original Xbox controller have triggers there? Yeah, it might have.
Yeah, it had triggers.
Yeah, that's probably why Halo did so well.
Yeah,
about it. That little trigger button. No, actually, I didn't get on Steam until I absolutely had to, and that was when Civ 5 came out. I want to say, because I went to the store, as is my wont, and bought the new Civ, as I had done many Civs before. And I got home, and it said, "Here's a code to go download this from the internet."
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, okay, we're just done with.
We're done
why
with
did
this.
I buy this box?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Half-Life 2 was one of the games that kind of got me into PC gaming. I had always done console gaming before that, and it was might have been like an Age of Empires or one of the... No, it might have been like a Heroes of Might and Magic game. One of them I was very disappointed with. And so I got it home, I had installed it, I played a little bit, and I was like, the box lied to me. Like, it was not what it was supposed to be. And I tried to take it back to the, might have been Babbage's at that point. And they were like, yeah, you can't return computer games. And I was like, I don't like it though. Like, I just want to return this. And they're like, that's not how this works. Like, you can't return that one. It never had entered my mind that like the key, the code, like all of that locked it in as my ownership. And
yeah, well,
really disappointing.
They didn't always do that. That was when did that start?
I guess
when you actually had to
around
enter
that time.
the keys. Well, because the thing was, it was like, it wasn't. I think the first game I had that was like really fussy about that was the first Mass Effect, and I remember you had limited installs per key, and so you could technically install like beforehand. As long as you had a key, you could install. It wasn't really that big of a problem. And you could have like key gens, like if you wanted to play a game illegally, you could just have, there was just programs that would just generate a key for you, boop, boop, boop. But then, like Mass Effect, it was the first one where you could only install it 3 times. And after that, you had to call someone to like give you another install, and you had to connect to the internet while I was installing. It was very primitive online DRM, but and of course it happened to me. Like I had installed it on like my mom's computer because I didn't have it or whatever. But then I installed it on mine, and then I remember I had a call, and I was like, I had to call. This is insane. So yeah, that was fun. That was a stupid thing. But
Yeah,
I guess things are stupid still. So I don't know.
Yeah, now DRM just like can absolutely destroy the gameplay experience by just eating up all the memory.
Or just like, not letting you play the game because some server is gone that was the thing that you played the game.
Yeah.
And the company that made the game decided not to spend money to keep that server around. And
Titanfall 2. R.I.P. to a real one.
The Titanfall 2 get shut down?
The servers, if they haven't been already, because I haven't been following it that close, but I believe the servers are going away for Titanfall 2. It's
a shame.
Crazy cheap on sale right now on Steam to buy it. But it would just be for the campaign, which is a great campaign. But
yeah, I never played them, honestly. I mean, it seems like something
so
I would
fun.
like, but yeah. All that jumping around and grappling hooks and stuff.
The parkour in that got me into like parkour in an FPS, like beyond Mirror's Edge. It just nailed it.
You didn't just go out and start jumping on furniture.
I wanted to, but at that point I was already into my mid-20s when that came out. And with my weight, like I already knew my knees are not going to survive this if I try. I think the last time I jumped and scaled onto like a higher surface like pony wall, I was like maybe 18 tops. Never tried again.
Yeah, that's always one of those things that just exists to remind you of your mortality.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I used to do this all the time. I could climb a tree. Why not?
I was heating up wood for into the brick oven, and I was going to get more, and I got over a boulder that's like maybe 18 inches off the ground floor area, and then walked up a little mound, got the wood, and then got back over and just stared for a good 10 count on how I'm going to get down, hop down, but support myself so that I don't just crush my ankles. Thought about it. When I was a kid, I would have just walked and kept walking.
Yeah, they do that thing where you put it down and then you do the fat guy throw your leg over the side of it and then you have to...
No, luckily there was a little wall to the side and part of the brick oven, okay. So I put the wood down near me and then put my hands on both of them and lowered myself that way. Yeah.
So what have you been playing this week, Mike?
Aside from WWE 2K23.
Tell me about WWE 2K23.
I played a little bit of it, actually, just yesterday. It's fun. It's been a long time, since the N64, since I've played a wrestling game.
Jeez.
I know, but I've been having a lot of people around me lately getting back into wrestling and getting into the storylines, and I don't know either, but...
It's soap opera for men.
It is. No, it absolutely is. But I love storytelling and world building and lore. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what? If I come into it from that aspect, kayfabe is just another type of lore and world building.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
So I was like, all right, I'm not going to commit right now. I have Hulu. I could watch all the wrestling I want right now if I wanted on it. But...
Oh, is that on Hulu?
Oh, yeah. But I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to ease myself back into these waters. And maybe this would be a good way to do that, right? It's like playing a hockey or football game. If you want to get learn the rules of the sport, best way is to kind of play it. My body's too shitty to, so yeah.
That's a good point. When I was trying to really get into baseball for a while there, I got the baseball, whatever, MLB, the show, and
yeah,
it teaches you who all the good players are because they have nice big numbers next to them. You're like, oh, hey, that's the good guy on that team.
Yep.
So that's true. That's very true.
Yep. So that's basically how I was treating it, and I'm still trying to learn the mechanics of it, but it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I forgot how much I like just a old school style brawler, which is how a lot of it still plays out. It's a lot of positioning and then attacking, counterattacking, defense, and depending on like your class, your gameplay style changes. They kind of did this almost like how DC Universe was like, what superhero do you most want to emulate as your character? They did the same thing with like one of 4 classes of fighting style. And I was like, oh, well, Rey Mysterio, absolutely. Like, I want to be this like weird, almost luchador-esque fighter who's flying around doing these wild twirling kicks.
I know very little of wrestling, but
you know Rey Mysterio.
Person.
Yes. And I've been having fun with it. I don't love the actual gameplay story elements because they got all the real people to do the voice acting, and they all sound like they're just doing an Alex Jones impersonation. It's all just really gruff, you know? It's bad.
Right.
Like, it's bad. Like, some of them, I'm legitimately concerned when I hear them talking that they have some kind of throat cancer. Like, something's not right there. But I guess if you scream for a living, like, that's just going to fuck you up, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of shouting. You have to, like, shout and then fight and then shout. Yeah.
They're not projecting from the diaphragm. That's the problem.
Yeah. I'm sure they... I mean, what workout exercises your diaphragm? Can you lift a weight to
yes you actually
diaphragm?
My choir teacher used to stack books on our bellies, and if we were lifting our diaphragm correctly, the books would stay in position, and she didn't want to see any wobble up and down, so we'd all have to get in front of the class and do like 5 minutes of diaphragm practice. It'd just be a few of us each time, but then like you rotate through and you get it in, and it really helps like train pulling in and controlling air into that area.
Interesting. I have a vague recollection of my band teacher telling me something about that, but I didn't like band, so I didn't pay much attention.
Yeah.
He made me play the trombone.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of breath control needed for that, too.
Yeah, I wasn't... Asthmatic Arvid was not interested in playing the trombone.
Yeah. You more of a sax man then, yourself?
I just didn't want... I wanted to play anything, just not that, or like the tuba.
I could see
like I said,
a manic person playing xylophone, like, and just really getting into that.
Yeah, sure, percussion would have been... No, for some reason, like I said, like my band was like the usual band, but then one kid got to play the bass guitar.
I
don't know why that was a thing.
The bass guitar, it's a stand-up bass. Like, it's always just the one person. I'm like, fuck, that's the one thing I wanted to play. Now I got this fucking cello. All right, fine.
I'd play the cello. Fuck. The one thing I know about the WWE games is that they're very buggy. How buggy is it?
I haven't come across any bugs.
Really?
Not. I mean, I'm probably more tolerant than most people of, like, quote-unquote bugs, but I haven't seen anything that is game-breaking. My main complaint is AI targeting right now, because my character got thrown into, like, a surprise last man standing kind of match, and there were just 6 of us running around this arena in it, and I have my own personal goals in that match of, like, targeting this one person that is, you know, trying to build a grudge for my story with them. And the whole while I'm trying to beat on them, and someone's just like coming up behind me and starts whacking on me. And it felt like if the AI really had their own motivations in a match, then they would have focused on their own goals. But it was more like just a random AI would always come over and stop me from completing my goal just to make it more difficult. And that's more of a design issue than a bug. But
right.
That's the only thing that I've found so far that's infuriating. I haven't come across any bugs. My game crashed one time. That was it.
Were you playing on PC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So other than that, no, I've been enjoying it. I'll probably play a little bit more tonight because I finally got out of like my forced persona as the lock, which is just really, you just wear like a fucking chain with a master lock padlock on it, and you pop out of a safe.
I like that. Why did they? I like. Let's see. That was one of those things I remember from the '90s when it seemed like there was a lot more wrestling back in the '90s.
Yeah, yeah.
And like all my friends were into it, and you just be you gotta watch this guy. He's really cool. He's like the what was his name? The Undertaker or whatever. Blah blah blah. But you always fight like Disco Man or like the Accountant or like just like the stupid like theme.
Yeah, yeah. Because that was the whole like corporate board back in the day of people too. There were weird like gangs that they were.
Well, it was it seemed sillier. Like they had they had more like concepts as opposed to just like people's names.
Yeah,
you know, like I don't know.
Mankind.
Maybe that was. Yeah, or yeah, it wasn't the. Was that the guy with the tie and the weird mask?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
Yep.
It's like everyone I knew. Like every time I moved somewhere, all the kids, like everyone was into wrestling. I just like, okay, this is fine, I guess.
I never got like deep into it. Yeah.
My aunt once gave me a Andre the Giant action figure, and he could only move his arms like this. Like his arms were permanently bent. He just had the rotating shoulders, and that was the only articulation he had. But if you pressed a button on his side, he would vibrate, like just like this. Like
that's just the tremors he had from not drinking enough yet.
I don't know why it would do that.
Little button on the side that says "I drink for the pain." No, I thought you were gonna say like it was like a Stretch Armstrong because that would make sense, kind of.
Oh, well, I wasn't
like is like a branded version of you weren't allowed to have a Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah, I don't remember why.
Huh.
Well, I had a friend who had a Stretch Armstrong. And now you say that, I think it was like a Hulk Hogan brand Stretch Armstrong.
Sure.
But
like, I kind of vaguely recall there being like a Hulk or Hollywood Hogan Stretch Armstrong. I don't remember which era.
Oh, is that a time frame thing?
Mm-hmm.
It was like okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't remember why I wasn't allowed to have one. My mom was like, "No, that's not a toy for you, Arvid." Because she talked like that. But I don't know. Yeah, no, it's weird.
Huh.
I was allowed to have vibrating Andre the Giant, but not Stretch Armstrong.
I'm not going to make the obvious joke. We're too good for that. Huh. Well.
So yeah, I've only been playing Starfield more. I don't have any else to say. I mean, I will say this one new insight I have gained from Starfield. Everyone thinks that the intro ends at this certain point when you get your ship, but that's actually bogus because the intro doesn't actually end until halfway through the main storyline.
Yep.
And people have been talking about how this is like such a much shorter start like intro than all the other Bethesda games or whatever. My criteria for a Bethesda game starting point is when you have unlocked all the different gameplay aspects.
Yes.
So Fallout 4, it's when you get back to Sanctuary Hills, you've unlocked the settlement thing. Skyrim, it's not when you get out of the prison with whoever. It's actually after you get back from Bleak Falls Barrow and you kill the dragon and you unlock shouts. That's when you actually finish the intro. With Starfield, that point didn't happen to me until I was 30 hours into the game.
Yeah, because you fucked off and did your own things after getting, like, to the lodge and talking to some people and, like, keeping it as vague as possible. Then you just were like, I'm going to go find a faction and I'm going to go, like, do faction stuff and have fun. Because you thought,
but no,
I've done everything.
Exactly. I thought, like, this is the intro to thing, and now I'm going to play in the sandbox.
Yeah.
But really, I was playing in a truncated sandbox.
The addition I have to that is that the pacing after that after the intro is done, as we are establishing when the intro is finished now, the pacing after that is wildly quick for the main story.
Yeah.
And a friend of ours, I gave him similar advice when he started playing Starfield. And I was like, keep going after you think you shouldn't keep going on the main story. Like, you're not going to rush through it too fast. Just go ahead. You'll get to a point where you realize, like, okay, now I'm in kind of the established main story with those mechanics and new gameplay aspects. And he kept going for a little bit after that because it kind of encourages you to check out, oh, what are these new things that I am, able to manipulate or
explore.
Yeah. And he did that for a little bit and then was like, oh, I'm at the end now. Like I'm clearly, unless like something drastic is going to change, I'm at the end. I have finished and have started again. And I'm very curious to see what, if any, changes there are in this go around.
Yeah, I'm at this point where I kind of like, there's a lot of other side stuff I want to do and faction stuff, but I kind of just want to, I don't know, I kind of want to finish this story and see where it's going, but at the same time, like, but I haven't done all this other stuff, and I don't want to do this, I don't want to do the intro crap again. I don't have to make a new, like, start over and then do all that stuff again. Like,
well, we can talk more about how that works after this is done.
Okay, well, that helps a bit.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Do we have anything else to say, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Oh, should we start doing the thing where we say the game we're going to play next week like we used to?
I think we should.
Okay.
What game are we playing next week, Arvid?
Next week we're playing a game called Void Strangers, which is a game I just discovered, and it looks weird. And I like
it does.
So we'll see what this is about.
Yeah.
It just came out, so not a ton to say about it yet.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I am too. It's not often we have something that comes out of the blue like this.
Yep. Well, in the meantime,
you can message us or email us.
Yeah.
thesavestatepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Or you can send us a message to one of our social media accounts that uses the Save State Pod.
Yes.
Without the cast.
Yeah.
We also have a YouTube channel, which is still called the Save State Podcast.
For now.
And you can like this, if you might even be listening to this podcast on that. And if you are, you could like it, and you could leave a comment.
Subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah.
That's a thing you could do.
Yeah.
We appreciate any of this.
Yeah.
And, tell your friends. Or your enemies, I guess, depending on how you feel about our podcast.
That's fair. Don't use us for warfare, though. I can't morally agree to that.
Yeah. All right. So, thanks, guys, and bye.
Never forget
WWE
2K23. That's it. Never forget WWE 2K23. Bye. Yes.
All right.
Oh, whoa.
All right. Recording.
I am recording.
Alfred, why are we recording?
I'm not going to yes and that.
Okay.
I didn't feel like doing the old man
voice.
I was trying to think, like, do you go Michael Caine or you just go like old generic white guy?
I think
do you go like
Michael Caine? Yes, Mr. Bruce, we don't have any kind of...
Fuck. Look at you. Man of many voices.
Everyone could do Michael Caine. You just gotta fruff your tufts and stuff.
I suppose you could, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's just standard Cockney.
It's a do. But that's fine. I mean, that's all you need. When you have the Batman context, then everyone assumes any Cockney is around him is Michael Caine.